Next lesson today is history, and specifically a new exhibition which is opened in Stockholm, in which you can unwrap an Egyptian mummy virtually while standing right next to the real thing. Now, it uses technology designed by Swedish developers and originally intended for use in virtual autopsies. Neil Bowdler is your teacher.
Underground in the vault of a former bank in central Stockholm lies an Egyptian priest. His remains are one of 8 mummies which belong to the Museum of Mediterranean and Near Eastern Antiquities. He lived in the 3rd century BC in Thebes, modern-day Luxor. We know how important he must have been from the coffins he was sealed in and the sheer splendour of his decorated mummy.
We know that his mother's name was Takarheb, and then we can also see that he belonged to the upper classes of Egyptian society because he could afford an expensive mummification. Not everybody could. And he also has a gilded cartonnage, he has 2 coffins, and he has a lot of amulets.
The museum's Egyptian collection has just undergone a radical transformation, which involved disturbing Neswayu and the other mummies from their slumber. They were taken to a hospital to undergo CT scanning to see right inside the bodies and wrapping. Next, the coffins and mummies were photographed from multiple angles and the 2D pictures used to build a 3D surface map using recap photo from software company Autodesk. All the data was fed into this virtual autopsy table, which sits in a room next to Neswayu's body in the new permanent exhibition.
We can actually look at the mummy in greater detail, beginning with the outer coffin, and then just peel off layer after layer. The inner coffin with all the inscriptions, and then you have the cartonnage covering both the head and the entire body, and then the wrappings and the bead net protecting the mummy from anything evil, and then down to the skeleton with details about, for example, dental health, dental status. We can actually see the infection in one of the teeth, and then we sort of just dress him again back to the outer coffin.
CT scanning Neswayu doesn't just allow us to unwrap the mummy, it also allows us to find objects like this. This is a 3D printout of a falcon-shaped amulet that was seen inside the mummy. The real one is still in there during the scanning process. It was thought it was put there to protect Neswayu in the afterlife. The virtual autopsy table is the work of a Swedish research institute. They first built the software, which is called Inside Explorer, for autopsies in hospitals and for use by medical students, but they've since moved into the museum business. They've worked with the Smithsonian in Washington and the British Museum in London, but the Neswayu project represents the most advanced work yet.
We started a process by CT scanning, so that describes the interior but doesn't give you any color information or surface information. So we continued the process by doing laser scanning and photogrammetry, and that process gave us information about the surface and the textures and the colors of the mummy. And then we're taking all of that data and put it onto the table to make it accessible for museum visitors.
For the Egyptian curator at the Mediterranean Museum, the digital scanning project offered a unique chance to enhance both her understanding of the mummies and pass on what they learned to the visitors.
We wanted partly to get more information about them, but we also wanted to include them into this virtual autopsy table, so that the visitors themselves could see this information firsthand, not always have to count on researchers explaining what can be found on this mummy. Now you can simply unwrap it virtually yourself